Chloe Hanslip, best part of about 20 years or so in the industry, which is an amazing achievement in its own right, and presumably another 40 or 50 years to go. But if you had to say there was one particular thing about working in music as a violinist, what would it be?
I think it's just the sheer amount of joy, joy from playing the music, joy from being able to go and play concerts, and then also joy from meeting people and talking to people about their experiences after having been to concerts. It's such a privilege doing what I do, and it's wonderful to be able to do that.
It's not a scary thing then after the concert to actually meet the people that you've been playing to?
Not at all. I absolutely love doing that. I think it's so incredibly important. I love meeting the audience afterwards. I always try and do signings if I possibly can as well, and I think it's a very, very important part, because really without the audience, I wouldn't be here.
Now, and a world traveller by the very nature of the job these days. How many countries have you been to?
Oh gosh, I've lost count. Quite a few, I'd say. I've been to a lot of different places, from Russia to China to New Zealand to Australia to most of the European countries, to America, of course, as well. I'm going to be going to Mexico this year as well for the first time to play the Corn Gold Concerto, which will be a wonderful experience. So yes, I do get to do a lot of travelling. I love the travelling. Slightly less enamoured of all the packing and unpacking now, but I can't complain. I get to travel, I get to go to wonderful places. I may not see very much of the places that I go to, but I do get to go to them.
So take us on tour. You presumably go to the airport in the UK, you live in the UK, onto an aeroplane, you get off the other end, straight into rehearsals?
It varies, depending on how tight a schedule I'm on. Usually I'll get to a place, I'll get to somewhere, I try to take one of the first flights out, and I'll get to somewhere, at about midday, 2 o'clock-ish. I'll sort of go get something to eat, and then I'll practice for a while, for 2 or 3 hours, or as long as is necessary. And then I'll go and find something to eat, and then the next day it'll usually be straight into rehearsals, and then sometimes it'll be a rehearsal, and then another rehearsal, a dress rehearsal the following day, and then a concert. Sometimes, for example, when I go to Florence, I'll have a rehearsal on the Friday and the Saturday, and then nothing on the Sunday, and then we go straight into concerts on the Monday with a dress rehearsal beforehand, sort of short sound check beforehand. So it varies immensely. But sometimes sometimes I will have to just fly out on the morning of a concert, have a rehearsal, and do the concert, which is also exciting in itself, really, because it's an extra adrenaline kick.
Are you quite? Did you have to do things in a certain way, in a certain order? For example, I mean, do you eat before a performance, or do you stay away from that? Do you have to go for a walk? Do you have a nap? I used to have a few different things, sort of such as really not eating at all on the day of a concert, which I sort of decided a few years ago was probably not the wisest thing. So I'll have a sort of a bowl of pasta at about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and then I won't eat again until after the concert. But really, I don't have that many routines. I like to get to the hall about an hour and a half. Sort of an hour before the concert starts, and sort of get a feeling of the place and get a feeling for the atmosphere. And then the one thing that really I always do, which makes me look a bit strange, is that I jump up and down before I go on stage. So complete in full concert dress, I will jump up and down just before I go. Is this in front of anybody, or are you just quietly on your own in your dressing room?
It's usually backstage. It's literally just before I go on. So no. There are usually a few people around seeing me do that. I'm
really missing the obvious question. Why on earth do you jump up and down?
I don't really know. I think it's, for me, I think it's to do with if adrenaline or energy gets sort of balled up in one place, I think for me it's important to disperse that. So I think for me anyway, I feel like if I'm jumping up and down, I'm dispersing it and just sort of getting ready and raring to go on stage.
And on stage, you are the centre of attention. And does that mean that afterwards you just shrink into the shadows, or are you quite garrulous?
I tend to hide in corners. Naturally, that's what I tend to do. I like to sort of, I never really think of, oh, I'm going to do a concerto now, so I'm going to be, the centre of attention. That's not at all how I think, and that's not at all why I do what I do. So I don't. I like to hide. I like to sort of hide in the corners after a concert.
Which then, I suppose, leads on to how do you relax? I love to read. I love to. I go to the gym.
Are you very techie? I mean, do you like books or do you like tablets?
I love books. For me, there's nothing like holding a book. But when you're traveling, if you want to read, anything that's got more than 300-400 pages in, then it makes more sense to have a tablet, have a Kindle, have an iPad, all of those. So I do, when I travel, I will take those with me, as opposed to, but I will also normally find a book in my violin case or book in my handbag somewhere as well. But no, I do that. I love to go swimming. I love to go hiking. For me, going hiking is very, very important. So when I go if ever I have summer holidays, when I go for my summer holidays, I like to go up into the mountains and do a good day's hike. I love skiing as well, and shopping, normal things really.
And a little bit tells me Formula One.
Yes, I do love Formula One. I do love cars. Have done ever since I was little. I'm not really quite sure why. It sort of started when I moved to Germany when I was 8 to study with Zacherbron. On the journey from Hamburg airport to Hamburg train station, we'd have to take a bus, and I sort of just started counting the Mercedes that I would see, and I think it just sort of grew from that. I've been very fortunate to have been to 2 Formula One races, one in Barcelona, one at Silverstone, and I just love cars.
And jumping up and down.
Jumping up and down.
Yeah, I think that's the most important bit of information that we've had during this interview, that you do this. But, I mean, you mentioned when you get holidays, if you get holidays. Who decides this? Because with somebody like yourself, you probably know for about 2 or 3 years in advance, or you can do, what you're going to be doing.
Absolutely. I do always, I do have a certain, there's one time where I do often go on holidays in the summer, but obviously, if concerts come in, then I will do those as well. But it's just sort of, as much as anything, it's sort of being in a different place, but also being static for more than 4 or 5 days.
Okay, so let's use our imaginations now. Perfect piece of music, perfect concert hall, perfect country, perfect after concert meal, perfect activity wherever you end up.
Oh gosh, perfect concerto. I don't think I can answer that one. There's too many amazing concertos.
We're not going to go for the Bruch.
Well, I do love the Bruch. I have played it many, many times. Someone asked me recently, how many times have you played it? And I think the honest answer has to be that, I stopped counting after I got past 50. So I do love playing that. But then you have the Tchaikovsky as well. You have Sibelius. You have, there's Shostakovich. There's the Adams as well. It's just, the list is never ending. Prokofiev. I could go on the Kurt Weill concerto, which is very
okay.
rare.
Well, we're not going to have a decision here, are we?
We're not going to. No, it's for me in terms of perfect concerto. It's very. There's no one perfect one.
Okay, perfect place in the world.
Ooh, that's a difficult one as well. Obviously, I love being home. Home is a wonderful place to be. But I do love Italy as well, and Switzerland. But I can't say exactly which would be my perfect place.
And any Formula One racetrack?
Ooh, probably Silverstone, I think.
Oh, is that out of loyalty?
No, it's just a really great track. I went to the Formula One race. I think it was last year. I went for 3 days. I went for the 3 days, so I saw all the practice sessions as well. And it's a really, really great track. But yeah, there's also Malaysia as well, Monte Carlo, of course. Again, I can't just give one answer. I'm really sorry.
And favourite meal? Come on, you just finished your concert and you haven't eaten beforehand maybe, and you want to go to have something local. What would you have?
Probably would be pasta and something chocolatey afterwards for dessert. I think that would probably be my favourite meal.
Probably the most difficult question to last. If you weren't in music and you weren't a violinist, what would you be?
I can't really imagine a life without music. I love it and I live it. But maybe something to do with cars, I think, would probably be something else. But really, I can't imagine doing anything other than what I'm doing.